So we just bought a new house and the floor in the dining room squeaks, and it also has some sag to it. So I want to show you how I am fixing that. So if you listen when I walk, the floor is really squeaking here. Now I put a straight edge on the floor and you can see that it sags about a ½ inch. And there's also a crack in the hardwood. Now I'm under the house, under the area that's squeaking, and the problem is the span here. It's about 12 feet and it's a single 2x8, which is, it's up to code, but I think it's not stiff enough. So what I'm doing is I'm sistering another 2x8 here next to the old one, and I'm also running it well past the beam. So one of the issues is that the span is really too long for a single 2x8, even though it's 16 on center. It's still a little bit overloaded, and over time, as the joist absorbs moisture and gets fatigued, it starts sagging. Another issue is the builder didn't overlap the joists enough at the beam. So what happens is this joist is acting like a lever. So not only is it sagging in the middle, it's also pushing up on the subfloor here. And so that raises the subfloor here and lowers it in the middle and makes it worse. If you decide that you need to add a sister joist to your floor, if you think that's the problem and you want to try and fix your floor that way, make sure you really inspect your particular situation and make sure that you can actually get the joist in, because a lot of cases your plumbing may be in the way, or you may not have enough space to get the new long floor joist in. So I'll give you some examples of where you may have a problem. Now, for example, if you have this situation where you don't have a lot of space, then you're not going to be able to get the 16-foot 2x8 in there. So what I had to do on this side was go take it onto the other side, and there was enough space over there to slide it through. So look around good, make sure you don't have anything like that that's going to block you from sliding this in. Now, for example, on this side, I couldn't put a full piece, because if you look closely down on that end, there's floor joists that are in the way. So, and also there's a pipe there in the way. Same thing on this side. The sewer pipe for the toilet is in the way, so I couldn't put a full piece there. So you just have to inspect your situation, and maybe you can put a half piece. It'll still help a lot if you can't put a full piece. But just make sure when you slide this in, it doesn't tear something up. And also look for nails in this area before you put it in, because they'd keep it from going flush against the old joist. If you see any nail, just cut them off before you slide the joist in. An overview of the process, or the first thing you want to do after you inspect your situation, and if you think you can put it in, then you want to take your insulation down. And if you have older insulation, be careful pulling it down, because it tears up pretty easy. You can see this is pulling off pretty pretty easy. So be very careful with it, and my advice is don't pull on the fiberglass, just pull on the paper, the backer. Otherwise you're going to tear it up and you're going to have to put new insulation in, and it's not all that cheap. So try not to tear it up. I did tear a few pieces up and pulled a lot of the fiberglass off, so what I did was I just doubled it. I put another piece of R13 over the top of it. Now you're supposed to have R19 on your floor, so I think adding R13 to it is enough. So just be careful with that. Wear some safety glasses and a hat and a mask when you're pulling this down, especially if it's old, because it's going to produce a lot of fiberglass fiber. You don't want to breathe that in. It'll also make you itch really bad. Once you get your insulation down, what I did was I laid the joist here on the beam and then went on the other side and just shoved it in. And I had to shove it all the way down until I could clear these wires, so I could get these wires under it. And then it was pretty easy. I had to use my feet to kick it in, but as long as you don't have anything in the way, it'll go in pretty easy. Once you get your joist in, what you'll have to do is turn it up on its end as far as you can get it. You can see I can't get it all the way, but I was able to turn it as much as I could and then put a C-clamp on it to hold it. Then go back to your beam, right at your beam, and put a bottle jack in. Now, some tips on this, on using a bottle jack sideways like this. Make sure you put the lever down at the bottom. If you don't, it won't feed hydraulic fluid and it won't extend. Also, make sure you put your C-clamp in a place where when it falls out, it's not going to hit you in the head or tear something up, because it will fall out. And then you just jack it into place. And while you're doing this, just watch your other joist that you're jacking against and make sure it doesn't start bending. If it does, you need to stop. Maybe shove something in between or put some screws to try and strengthen it. But just be careful, don't bend this one over. Okay, now I see this start moving, so what I'm going to do is take this out and move it up. Now I'm going to put the C-clamp here just to hold it in place, and then I'll go to the other end, do the same thing with the bottle jack on the other end. You may also have to do this a few places down the center. Now I've got the new joist tight with the old joist. The next thing I want to do is jack up the center. Now I haven't fastened the new joist to the old joist yet. I want to jack up the center before I fasten it. So first thing you got to do is make sure you got a level spot for your jack. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to move the plastic out of the way and use a shovel to make a level spot. Now I made this saddle to jack the joist with. I found that if I didn't use this, the joist wanted to twist. So I made this out of some 2x6s with a fork on the end, and it works pretty good. Keeps the joist from twisting and helps keep this from kicking out. I got to make sure that everything is lined up and that it doesn't look like jack post is going to kick out. I'm going to jack this until it's just slightly higher in the center. That way when I let the pressure off, hopefully it'll be level. You don't want to go crazy because you'll end up loosening the floor. If you have hardwood floor, or if you got tile floor above, you might crack the tile, so be careful. Don't overdo it. That's about level. I'm going to go a few more times. That's about 1/8 of an inch high in the center, so I'm going to stop there. Alright, now I'm gonna go and bolt the other end, and then I'll put 3-inch screws down the whole length, about 2 every foot or so. Now, some people recommend gluing the joists together with construction adhesive or wood glue. You can do that if you like, but I'm not going to do that here. It doesn't seem to be necessary. And then once you're done with that, you can take the jack out. Pretty good. It's got about 1/8 of an inch drop now instead of a 1/2 inch, so that helped a lot. So I've applied my fix in this area from the wall to about here, and you can see that the crack in the floor is almost gone and the squeaking has stopped.